Hello, hello. Starting a little bit early today. I want to make sure that I'm coming through on all channels. So bear with me for a sec here while we get started. I hope everybody had a good weekend. They come and go so darn quick, don't they? Weekends in general, days off, vacations, same thing. Okay, looks like we are live here. Okay. I'm going to wait till 4 though. Got a bit of a delay here. So if you are joining me today, please let me know if you can see and hear me on your end. And before I get into the demo, I'll make sure we get right to 4 o'clock here. My Java. Awesome. Okay, well, there's a few of you I see here already. If somebody could just give me a thumbs up or let me know if you can see and hear me on your end and why you're joining me today. Today is it's Men's Health Month. June is a busy month. Last week it was about lipedema awareness, which is a big area of talk in many of my groups. But I'm a wife and I've got a son and a lot of my clients are men. So I wanted to spend a little bit of time today talking about using a vibration plate for the guys out there. It's also Father's Day this weekend, so I've got a session coming up on Friday, talk about dad deals, and I'm going to talk about my top 3 dad tools, guy tools, what we as women like to use for our exercise and our recovery sometimes is a little different than the male counterparts. But very often, as we get older in life and things change, we go from gym mentality to symptom management and stress care. So the good news about a plate, just like for the ladies out there, for my guys, there's different reasons that my guys use vibration plates. But I would say for my younger crowd, it's very popular as a pre-gym, post-gym, post-sport activity. It's quick, it's effective. And a lot of my guys didn't really like to stretch and warm up and do those things. I know when I was in school, there wasn't a huge emphasis on these types of things. But as we get older in life, sometimes, activity or those traditional forms of activity that we may have partaken, they take their toll. Or perhaps you've had an injury or things along the way. So a vibration plate isn't about replacing, for my guys especially, it's not about replacing the golf game or replacing the gym workout. In a lot of cases, as we get older or we suffer trauma, surgery, injury, it's about returning to those activities that we love so much. So if you find you are a guy and you were active in your youth, but you're finding, the body or the sport of living has taken its toll, you don't need to abandon those activities. The number one reason I would say that guys in the plus 40 crowd use plates is to complement or get them back to those activities that they enjoy doing. For my younger guys, it's a great way to warm up. There's all kinds of research and studies about performance, enhancing performance. So all those sports teams, when you see all these claims out there about whole body vibration, know that there's just as many different ways to use it as there are as many benefits as you tend to hear about it. So today I wanted to kind of simplify things for my guys out there, and decomplicate the tool a little bit. So guys typically, and a lot of fitness experts would probably agree with me on this, they like to work body parts or groups of muscles, if you will. And I made a few notes here just to make sure that I wasn't tripping on myself. But yeah, many of the fitness gurus out there would consider, there's certainly smaller subgroups, but I'm going to talk about the major areas: the chest, the back, the arms, the abs, the legs, and then the shoulders. A lot of my guys, I always used to say back at the shop, and especially come summer, they tend to worry on what's sticking out of the jeans, whereas the ladies, we worry about how the jeans look. Guys are not only built physically stronger, but they tend to spend more time exercising and toning their upper body when they're exercising than we as women do. So today, I thought it would be fun and challenging. One of the main reasons that people got into vibration machines decades and decades and decades ago, the reason they become popular is because they shortened your exercise time while increasing efficiency. Yet so many of us think that, it's a mentality thing. If I'm not sweating and huffing and puffing for a half hour, I mustn't have worked out. So remember that a vibration machine, it can be a long workout, but really the whole premise behind a vibration machine is to reduce the amount of time that you're spending doing the work, if you will, increasing effectiveness. And in many cases, it's a lot more tolerable. So when I was talking a little bit earlier about my older guys, or those of you that have sustained an injury, or maybe are recovering from something, the advantage a plate's going to offer you is it's something that you can do, while you're recovering. In a lot of ways, many of my very elite athletes, and I'm sure Amber and Roseanne have had experience with this, it's a great way to maintain conditioning while you're going through a recovery situation. So I want you to talk to your trainers more about that. But I'm going to break down the tool a little bit today with 5 basic moves. We're going to start with a very basic warm-up. We're going to move on to some of these muscle groups I talked about. So, my son likes to work out with his friends, and they've got machines and squat racks. And, it's a half hour, hour and a half, 2 hours sometimes. They're out there yapping and doing their thing. I'm a busy mom. I got to make dinner. I want to answer questions for you guys. So, I fell in love with vibration machines decades ago because it was something not only that I could sustain as an activity with my bad knee that I was supposed to be getting replaced, but as I've gotten older and busier with life, I appreciate being able to keep those fitness gains, retain them, maintain them in a very short period of time. So for my guys, we're going to talk muscle groups. We're going to break the 5 exercises I'm doing into today to tailor those muscle groups we talked about. I'm sure you're going to be familiar with many of the exercises. And one of the tools we're going to incorporate today is some mass, some weight. So I've got LifePro's barbell here, not the dumbbells. I've got the new Tri-Bell. This is a barbell, but you can also turn it into kettlebells. It's a great little add-on. It brings about 50 pounds, I think, into the equation, which is more than enough for the majority of you working on the machine. If you're lifting heavier weight, you're building up for something, that's, again, a discussion to have with your trainer. You absolutely can build on a plate. For those of you that are competing at that level, doing those types of activities, just be mindful of your weight capacity. So if you want to do something and add, let's say, 100 pounds of weight to your mass, take your mass, the weight that you're adding, and just make sure that your machine can accommodate it. So that's just a tip that I wanted to mention for today. Again, I'm looking to see who is joining me here today. And I will, at the end of this, I'm going to leave questions till the end. So if there's something specific for yourself or the guy in your life that you would like maybe know about, let me know at the end. We'll get into some questions. And if you're dealing with any deficiencies or something of that nature. Okay. So let me get back here. So the first one we're going to start, I typically, for a warm-up, it's a 1-2 minute thing. Everything we're doing today is going to be on the premise of about a minute, maybe 2 per exercise. So this should be the 5 to 10 minute range maximum. We are going to be doing our exercises, as I always do, in oscillating movement. Oscillating is the primary movement of whole body vibration. It mimics how we walk across the floor. There are other movement styles, but I always focus on oscillating because you've got the most adjustability on a few of the settings. There's many more ways you can adapt for you and your sensitivities, whether you want more or less challenge. but it's also the one movement that is available in all of Life Pros models. So it doesn't matter which model you have, you can follow along all of my workouts because that's the only movement that I show in these sessions. The others are gravy. If you like using a preset or a combo, you're absolutely fine doing that. It's never about one specific number, but there are some starting guidelines. So in oscillating movement, I'm just doing this in manual today. We're going to be working with a mid-speed range and a more conservative amplitude, which means my feet are going to be hip width apart. More amplitude, more intensity is wider. Closer is less amplitude, less intensity. So regardless of the position that you're doing, the feet or the hands are always in control over how strong the movement feels. So for those of you that are looking at me saying, I'm not going to use a mid-speed, that's too scary, I've tried that. You've probably tried it, but with a wide foot or hand position. The really slow speeds are very choppy, very destabilizing. They're great for doing balance-specific exercises, but the goal today is for my guys to offer some strength ideas. So again, I want you working in more of a speed range of the mid. So on my Rumblex, I'm going to be about the 35 to 40 range. If you're working on a mini, one of the new hex plate models where you have, 100 or 120 speeds, your midpoint's going to be 50 to 60, maybe 70, okay? If at any time anything feels too scary, modify by bringing the feet closer. You want more action, more intensity, widen the feet up. Completely depends on you. So we're simply going to step up on the plate, hip width apart, which is going to be a different number for everybody. Don't be too mindful of, are you on the walking? Are you on the jogging? Logically, if you're listening to what I've just said with amplitude being the control factor, wider is more impact, more like jogging. Closer is less impact, more like walking, okay? So I want your knees slightly bent always. It's about the muscles absorbing the movement, not shaking and rattling yourself all over the place. If you're feeling too much shakiness in the head, not harmful, but if you're sensitive or you just don't like how it feels, you're standing very tall. So bend the knees a little bit more and you'll feel the lower you bend, the more you suppress, the less it travels up the body. The taller you stand, the more you're going to feel it travel upward, okay? So I want you slightly bent. And the goal with the warm-up, because we're getting down on the ground to do some mean stuff today, I want to loosen you up and warm you up from here to here. We're going to warm up the core. So my ladies, I normally recommend things like pelvic tilts. Guys do not like pelvic tilts. They don't get them. They don't know how to do them properly unless they're doing them now. It feels very strange, and it's usually not a very flexible area. A lot of my guys lack range of motion, so that's why I want you doing it. But pretend you're making love to your favorite woman. That's what this movement is, okay? So, I know how to do it now. That's usually what most of my guys say after I show them how to do that. We're going to do 5, 6, maybe 7 rotations. Slow it down and time it with your breathing if that feels good. Maybe do some little circles. The whole goal, just sort of loosen up for 30 seconds to a minute, whatever that looks like. You can, if you want a little bit more cardio, okay, so whatever that 1 minute starting out warm up looks like, the whole goal is just to get the blood pumping, warm up the temperature of the muscles, loosen up the joints, and get you prepared for what we're going to do next. So the next we're going to do is we're going to move into, as I talked about the muscle groups, the first one we're going to work with is the legs. Now, I'm a girl. I can do legs all day long compared to upper body. A lot of my guys have stronger upper body or better, a better balance of strength. Most of my ladies, if you're following me along, typically do not have the leg strength or the endurance in the arms that we do in the legs. So I always personally do my legs first. If you're dealing with weight loss goals, energy levels are low, legs are a good way to not only boost the metabolism by firing up those big muscle groups, but they're going to give you energy for the rest of what we're going to do next. So a very good squat is going to vary depending on you, your range of motion, how often you do squats now. If you're not doing these types of exercises on the machine, I want you starting statically, which means you don't got to move, especially if you're dealing with arthritic joints or you're recovering for something. Maybe you're able to weight bear, but lots of dynamic movement may not be your friend yet. So I want heels planted. 70 to 80% of the mass is on your heels. I had someone asking about cramp in the calves or the shins that developed after using their plate. And that's really common, especially if you're dealing with any deficiencies. The goal with your squat is to just go as deep as your range of motion allows and hold still. And you'll feel where the pressure is building depending on the angle of your squat. But the body, it always tries to find an easier way to do things. And you might feel like you're wobbling around a little bit. Your body's trying to compensate. It's trying to make the exercise that you're doing easier. So one of the ways it does that is shifts the weight to the toes, takes the weight off the heels. If you purposely do that, you'll feel a little bit of movement into the calves and the shins, but it doesn't really transfer up. It's easier on the thighs, which you're supposed to be doing the work. So keep those heels planted. And if you are really sensitive in the calves that night or the next day, you may have shifted your weight. It's just something when you first start out, your body tries to do. Keep those heels planted. Be mindful of that. Now, if you're doing a good squat, you should only last 30 seconds to a minute, depending on your ability and your range of motion. We're going to end it with a mean one with some weights. So if you're not totally dead yet, you certainly don't need to be. But if your goals are weight loss, you're looking to tone, the goal is to push to fatigue. If you're just maintaining, you're just wanting to get some energy, firing up those muscles, a couple, 3 times, whatever works for you, is very different than pushing to fatigue, to that point where you're done, I can't do anymore. So that's going to be more, in line with whatever the long-term goals are, okay? So the next one we're going to move on to is going to be, instead of going chest and arms and shoulders and abdominals, we can hit all of those muscle groups in one exercise. Anybody got a guess? It's called the plank. So the plank, I know everybody wants to be working core. Core is awesome, but it's not just doing sit-ups and crunches. Crunches and sit-ups to me are more of a defining move. So if, again, you're looking for excessive weight loss, you're looking at, improving strength in the core, the low back. Crunches are a good exercise, provided they're done properly, but they don't burn a lot of calories. So I'm not a big fan of crunches because there's really, in my opinion, more ways to do them wrong than right if you're not doing them now, let alone incorporating them in an environment that makes them more challenging in less time. So the reason I say more challenging is if you're not doing crunches now, the best place to start practicing those is going to be on the floor. I don't want your first crunch being on a vibration plate. It's just something, I want you to have a pleasant experience and get results, not, fatigue yourself too quickly or, start, it's more, I guess I would consider crunches on a vibration plate an exercise you evolve to once you've been doing them regularly and the positioning and the form is there. Same goes for planks, but there's a couple ways that I'm going to show you 2 variations on exercise number 2, which is the plank, depending on your ability, your conditioning, range of motion, things like that. So the reason I like a plank preferred over a crunch is we're incorporating more muscle groups. So for my guys, we're thinking 5 or 6 major muscle groups. Instead of breaking it into 4 or 5 different parts, we're hitting the core, we're hitting the arms, we're hitting the shoulders, we're hitting the back, and to a degree, we're encompassing the legs. Not quite as aggressively as we would in a squat or something loaded like that, but everything comes into play on the plank. Therefore, you're burning more calories. And for me, the busy mom, I'm getting more done in less time. So if you have a bad back, there's 2 ways I want you to start, depending on your level of conditioning. If you have game, if you have upper body strength and you want to put your hands on the plate, you can. If you are not doing anything that looks like this on the plate right now, this isn't where I want you to start today. Most people are looking at me right now going, well, she's doing a push-up. Well, a push-up is a plank. I'm not a big fan of putting forearms on the plate. There's no padding here. I don't know what the surface of your plate looks like. I don't know what your shoulders are like. I prefer, and you're going to get more benefit to the arm muscles themselves, I prefer you coming up more into a traditional push-up type position, okay? So if you're not doing these type of exercises right now, modification number 1 is start on your knees. Reduce the amount of body weight. Remember the first lesson I started with, wide is more movement, closer is less. So I want you positioning your shoulders over your hands, not your head over your hands, your shoulders. One reason, if you're positioning your shoulders over your hands, you're going to reduce the amount of head vibration. Very, very important. So, again, we're still working with a mid-speed range. Starting on the knees, and if you've never done a push-up on the machine before, this is a good way to start just to kind of get a feel for it. And by putting the shoulders over the hands, again, we're reducing the head vibration. If you're finding, you're not strong enough and your back is dipping, bring your knees closer, okay? This can equally be just as good therapeutically. Maybe you've got shoulder tension, doing some rolls. You're just adding vibration to a position. So there's lots of different ways you can just get therapeutic. If you are looking comfortable at this point and you do want to challenge yourself and you're doing these types of exercises now, I would love to see you come to toes. Now, what I don't want to see is things that look like this. Okay, I want a nice straight core. Okay? Breathing, holding. You certainly do not need to move. Again, just start statically. Okay? If you're able to do a good push-up and you're not fatiguing, but the low back is given out on you more so than the rest of the body, it's just a deficiency. So another way that you can do this exercise is to turn yourself around. Okay? Place the feet on the platform, arms on the ground, but notice I'm looking at the ceiling. Now on this one, this is just a variation on a plank. You pick which one's going to be best for you. Come down on the forearms, put the heels on the plate, and lift. Now it's a little more glutes and hamstring, but you'll never wrench your back doing it this way. So this is just a variation. If you are sensitive in the low back, you're fatiguing in these exercises early, you're recovering from something, this is a great way to get started in a plank encompassing more muscle groups, but without putting the back at risk if it's an issue for you. Okay? Another variation, maybe the back's okay, but it's the upper body and the shoulders or the neck that you have issues with, but you want to do a plank. Okay, well, you can come down on the forearms or push up, face the ground. Okay? Just like when you're standing, the wider your feet, the more wobble, the more destabilization. It makes it harder. If you feel in your plank like you're slipping, sliding off the machine when your feet are on it, slow the speed down a little bit. Often, depending on your height, your weight, you don't have a whole lot of body weight coming into the machine with the feet on the plate this way. And if it's moving too quickly in combination with too wide of a foot placement, you might just slide. So if you feel like you're being sliding off the machine in this exercise, either bring the feet slightly closer or reduce the speed until you find a good comfortable spot. Okay? A plank is one of those exercises that I kind of call, you can do it two different ways. You can do it this way. You can do it this way. It really depends on, kind of identifying first where the strengths are, where the weaknesses are. And a plank is an awesome exercise for my guys that I don't think many of them do enough. It's all about the crunches and, and the lifts. Now, this is a push exercise, so I do want to talk about pull. This is not a pull thing. This is a push thing. So there's other things you may want to be incorporating from the gym, maybe some weights, how you exercise your muscles, whether it's a push or a pull type exercise, is again something you may want to talk about with your trainer. But the plate is just an environment. This is a great way if you're not doing planks or you're doing them, but you don't really want to do them. A vibration plate is a good way to get bang for your buck, reduce the time, get the exercise done, and use your other equipment or the gym for those other type of exercises that you like incorporating. So the next one we're going to work on is going to, so we did the warm up, we did some legs. This encompassed several body parts. Before we get into the next standing, the last one's going to be a mean one with some weights, but I want to do one more variation on a push-up. So a push-up is another wonderful exercise. So we did a little bit of a push-up there, but more focusing on the plank itself. The arm muscles I want to target, show you how to, with your push-up, just by changing the angles of your arm on the plate. You can target anything from the biceps, the triceps, you know, the chest muscles, the back, even the shoulders and the neck, just by manipulating the angles of your arms and your body all in the same motion. So follow along with me while I walk you through this. So again, just a reminder, if you're not doing these now, or you're not awesome at doing them on your toes yet, reduce body weight by becoming, starting on the knees. For those of you that are able, okay, pay attention. So my arms right here are kind of like coming out at like a 45. What I want you to do with this variation is tuck the elbows in up against the sides of the ribs. So instead of the arms being outwards, draw them in, and you're going to feel the weakest muscle in the human body, both men and women, engage. So by doing this, you just draw the elbows in against the ribs, and they're supporting your mass. And it's all about the triceps, the front of the shoulders, the top of the shoulders, just by changing the angle. Once you kind of get a feel for it, if you're conditioned and ready for it, move up to those toes and add more mass. Make sure that you're breathing. Engage that core. Don't let that back dip. Okay? So it's an easy way to hit the triceps without having to change your position. Maybe you like tricep dips. I'm not going to do a tricep dip today. Most people do not do them properly, let alone on the machine. Plus, I need to have more arms for the next move I'm going to show you. So tricep dips are absolutely something that you can do, but if you understand my lesson of hands closer or further apart, it's hard to bring the hands close together. So doing a tricep dip, you're almost committed to a wide amplitude because it's just the way that we're built. So I by far prefer, personally, hitting the triceps this way. So again, just draw those elbows in. You may need to bring your hands a little bit closer, but it's all triceps. So the next one is let's call it a shoulder press. So from that same basic push-up position, I'm going to bring my feet closer and change the angles of my core so that my weight distribution is going down into my neck and my shoulders. This is one, I wouldn't leave this as your very last exercise. I want you pushing to fatigue, but I want you quitting just before you get there. You'll see why. So with your shoulder press, and I haven't done this in a while, so bear with me. We're going to just walk forward, keeping those shoulders over the hands. Relax the head. And just by getting the glutes and the hips higher than the shoulders, all of the weight is now down in my shoulders, my chest, my upper back. Make sure you're breathing. And if you want the tricep variation that I showed you while doing this one, so come up, hold, you'll feel it in those shoulder blades, like awesome. Draw the elbows in. Ooh, very hard. This is all triceps and shoulders. Back out. Okay? I don't have the step set up today, but if you wanted to get even more body weight into that equation, maybe you're working this area specifically, put your feet up on the step to get your body more level with the plate. You'll get even more body weight in there. With this one, please, 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 common sense prevails. If it's shaking the hell out of your head or you're getting dizzy, this is a hard exercise, let alone doing it on a plate and holding still for, 30 seconds to a minute. Make sure you're breathing. It's very common. You're paying attention to all these other things coming out of my mouth that you actually stop breathing. That's the way that your body tries to make you quit and make it easier. So be mindful. Make sure that you're breathing and quit just before fatigue on this one. You want to make sure that when you're done, you can push away from the machine and be done. Okay? I love, love, love doing that one. It very quickly shapes the top of the shoulders. It's a great way. It actually, I feel it relieves neck tension in the neck and the shoulders, just because the muscles are not only being engaged, but many more of them with this rush of circulation and lymph. So, 30 seconds to a minute of this for many of you conditioned guys would be an awesome warm-up before arm day or recovery to that. So warm-up and recovery isn't always, lazy stretching and type. Maybe it's a short minute or two of these types of exercises before you hit the gym to maximize results. I love that set. So if I was doing my push-up in my workout regularly, I would start like this. Maybe I want more action on my abs. Okay. So this is working all muscle groups at the same time instead of breaking it in. Wouldn't you know it that I talk too long and the machine quit? Sometimes that's good. Okay. So simultaneously, we are working our legs, our core, our back, our chest, our shoulders, and our arms. To what degree and what areas you specifically want to target can just be a series of variations. Maybe we're doing some dynamic movement. Okay? You are only limited by your imagination and your range of motion. So we started with a warm-up. We did a lunge, legs. We did a plank and quite a few variations. Pick the plank that works best for you depending on your body type. We moved into a push-up with numerous variations where there's so many ways. The more that you incorporate into one position, the more you can get done quicker. So the very last one I'm going to do is a push exercise. The final push. I'm going to incorporate I'm realizing I have too much weight. So for those of you that have not played with this new set, it's the easiest thing to adjust. You just turn the handlebar. I want to make sure I'm not taking on more than I'm ready for here. So just for demonstration purposes, I've adjusted this to 10 pounds, which is minor. If you are not working with a barbell or weights on your machine right now, sometimes just getting used to the movement and the flow of the exercise before you actually challenge yourself by adding more weight is a good idea. You could use a broom handle. I've used curtain rods. But what I want you to do, there's two variations we're going to play with. So while we're on the plate, I've got the mass on my shoulders. So for those of you that are, doing your squats, depending on what you're adding to the equation, you can do this on the plate. So I like to have a little bit of a wider foot position when I'm doing this type of an exercise on the plate. So to compensate for the wider stance, I bring the speed of the plate down. So I'm in, I'm not super, super slow. I'll give you an example. Right now on my Rumblex, I'm at 20. So we're going to step onto the plate. We're going to be hip width apart, wider if you prefer. If you get wider than hip width apart, I like to angle my feet ever so slightly. So my heels are angled in just a little bit and the balls of the feet are angled out. We're going to have a nice engaged core. We're going to hold good posture. We're going to come down. Up to you whether you want to just hold or if you want to put some dynamic movement. If you're doing these type of exercises now and you do want to move, make it very slow, very purposeful. This isn't about cardio. You're probably huffing and puffing already, but it's not about going fast. I want you to feel that load build through those micro movements that are being delivered to your body while you're doing this exercise. Okay? Now, this is where the push comes in. So when we go down, this time, we've got the bar positioned in front of us. What I want to do is while we squat down, we're going to push up and extend the bar. So you ready? 3, 2, 1. Press, hold, 2, 3. Up. Good core. Press, hold, 2, 3. Up. You could hold this exercise, but I like going through the movement with the arms. If you want it to be really hard, instead of locking your arms, just bend them slightly. It's a heck of a lot harder. Okay? 3 to 5 reps. I'm dying. Everybody's fatigue level is going to be different. If you find on that one Whew. If you find you could go all day long, you can do one of two things. You can ensure that you're doing dynamic movement to fatigue you quicker, or maybe you need to add some more weights. Maybe you need to do a few more lunges or squats before. So it really depends on what the goals are long term. That last one, the whole point is kind of a final 30 seconds to a minute, final push, get her done, get in, get out. Whew, felt that one. I was in the garden this morning, so I probably did a little too much. So those are just ideas. Again, there is no perfect path as to how to cross the finish line and win the race with some of these technologies. But for a lot of my guys, you look at your wife's machine and you think, what is she doing? How can that possibly be exercise? But traditionally, a lot of the ways that the machines have been promoted or that you've seen it shows has catered to women, the weight loss, the cellulite. So unfortunately, some of the examples that we see out there nowadays in the marketing, it's not wrong, but it kind of adds to the mockery. You're using a vibration machine. What a vibration machine is it's an environment. It's a low impact environment. You can do all the moves, all the same type of exercises you would normally do traditionally on the floor, but this is going to increase the effectiveness, reduce the time. And as I said, as we get older, again, this isn't about replacing the activities that you love. It's a kinder form of exercise. So if you do have to exercise for purpose, it's certainly an alternative, but it's a great complement, especially for my guys as a warm up and a wind down before, after golf, the gym, whatever activities that you are dealing with. It's great for symptom management. So if you're starting to develop, arthritis, tendonitis, different things that just come up throughout the course of being active throughout your life, it's a great way to keep you active in the way that you choose to be. And your wife isn't crazy, give it a shot, even if it's just for the feel good aspects. So today we kind of covered 5 exercises. It is Men's Health Month, and I want to cater to the guys for another session. We're going to have one this week on Friday at the same time, and I'm going to talk more different tools, not just the vibration plate, which of course, hint, hint, obviously it's my favorite tool, but there's some deals for dad, and we're going to talk about some other ways that dad can keep himself loose, limber, and active, especially heading into the summer months. So if no one has any questions for me, I either talked you to sleep or you had a very good session and you're trying all these things out now. If you are watching this on a recorded basis, please never hesitate to ask a question. Tag me at Debbie with a Y. Sometimes if the conversation develops and you don't tag me, I might get lost and not get the notification. So if you do have a question, please never hesitate to tag me directly. And if you have ideas or sessions in particular things that you would like us to see us do on this channel, please just reach out to myself, Amber, or Roseanne anytime. Thank you for joining me today. I will see you again same time on Friday. Deb's top 3 tools for men, and I'm going to give you a little demo on each of those. I'll see you on Friday. Have a great week. Don't work too hard. And thanks for joining me, guys. Have a great month.